The first thing I heard was the wind, then the screen door slamming. Again and again. Like the house itself was protesting. I stepped onto the porch, balancing a white box with a cake inside and a bottle of champagne tucked under my arm. The house looked exactly as I'd left it, pale blue paint, clean windows, 2 palms leaning toward the sea. It was supposed to smell like lemon polish and peace. Instead, I smelled beer. When I pushed open the door, my mother was in the kitchen holding a dish towel like it was a white flag. Her eyes were red. "Natalie," she whispered, startled, as if I were a ghost she hadn't invited. "Where's Dad?" Her lips trembled. "In the living room. Don't be upset." The living room was chaos. My father sat hunched in an armchair, hands shaking on his knees. Beside him stood Gavin, bare feet, football shirt, half-drunk confidence dripping from his grin. My sister, Tessa, lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone, a child's cartoon blaring from the TV. Boxes were stacked along the wall, not the ones I'd packed for my parents, but new ones, cheap tape, messy handwriting. Gavin noticed me first. "Hey, look who finally showed up. This isn't funny," I said. He spread his arms, not trying to be, just settling in. My father tried to speak, but Tessa's voice cut through him. "You don't have to make it dramatic. Nat, it's just a house." "It's not just anything," I said. "Why are your things here?" Tessa laughed lightly. "Mom said it was a family place. We figured we'd help take care of it. You know, make it useful." My mother shook her head. I didn't say. Gavin's tone sharpened. "Come on, Helen. You did mention that you didn't want the stairs to be a problem for Charles. We're younger. We can manage the upkeep." "Manage," I repeated. He stepped closer to my father. "Old man, this setup isn't safe for you. We'll handle the property. You two can stay downstairs when it's off-season." My hand tightened on the cake box. "You're talking about their home." "Our home," Tessa corrected. "Family home." "Remember," my father's jaw moved, but no sound came out. My mother pressed the towel to her mouth. I placed the cake on the counter carefully, the way I used to set down scalpels in the courtroom evidence room. "You need to leave." Gavin smiled, wide and lazy. "You're serious, Tessa?" my mother whispered. "Maybe we should know," Tessa snapped. I'm tired of walking on eggshells around her. She doesn't own us. "Mom, I own the trust," I said evenly. That made her blink, the first crack in her confidence. "You what?" Gavin chuckled. "Paperwork doesn't mean anything. Counselor. Family trumps signatures. Not in my world," I said. The silence after that was thick enough to hear the ocean pressing against the windows. My father lifted his head, eyes glassy. "Natalie," he said softly, "I didn't want you to see it like this. I needed to." I told him. Gavin exhaled through his nose, stepping forward again, finger pointed toward the door. "You know what? If you're going to start making trouble, take it outside. This is our house now. Get out." For a second, everything in me went still. Not angry still. The kind of stillness before a scalpel touches skin. My mother made a small sound, something between a sob and a plea. Tessa folded her arms, defiant. I looked at the man pointing at my father, then at the sister who once borrowed money and never paid it back. "Fine," I said quietly. "If this is your house, you won't mind proving it." The words hung there, calm but final, and for the first time, Gavin's grin faltered. I learned early that silence could stop a storm. When my parents fought about money, I'd stand between them and say, "It'll be fine," though I didn't know how. I was 10 the first time I mailed a bill for them. That was the day I learned the shape of panic on my mother's face and the weight of calm on mine. By 17, I was the one who called the bank, who asked for extensions, who made it sound like we were holding steady. When Tessa crashed her first car, I was the one who begged the insurance agent not to cancel. She cried in her room while I negotiated. That pattern never changed. At college, She majored in being rescued. I majored in the law. I thought if I understood every rule, I could finally make our family safe from itself. My father once said, "You were born with a ledger in your hand." He meant it as a compliment. My mother smiled and said, "At least one of you doesn't give me gray hair." Then she turned to Tessa and added, "But you, sweetheart, you make life interesting." When I started my own practice, I sent home checks, quiet ones. No notes, no thanks required. Every holiday, my mother said, "You shouldn't spend so much on us." And every holiday, Tessa showed up late with another story about why she couldn't. I never told anyone how small it felt to keep everyone afloat. It wasn't love by choice, it was maintenance. The night before my parents' 50th anniversary, my assistant, Claire, stopped by my office door. "You're still here just finishing paperwork." "You live in paperwork," she teased. "Ever take a break? Breaks are for people who don't owe anyone." She tilted her head. "You don't owe them anymore." "Natalie," I didn't answer. Instead, I signed the last page of a trust document and slid it into a folder marked Monroe Family. That was the moment the idea began a gift. Something pure, something no one could twist. A house by the water, in their names, free and clear. I thought I was buying peace. I didn't realize I was buying the next war. When the idea finally took shape, it felt almost foolishly simple. Give my parents something no one could take from them. I found the house 3 weeks later, perched above a narrow strip of sand, its windows open to the wind. The agent, a soft-spoken man with too many pins in his jacket, said, "It's small, but the foundation's solid. You can feel when something's been cared for." I nodded. That's all I need. The number was 4, Trumnum Moinginjola. I didn't flinch. I'd spent years watching my clients buy second homes they'd never visit. This one would be lived in. I closed it under a trust my parents as lifetime beneficiaries, myself as the successor trustee. I prepaid the property taxes for 20 years and transferred the HOA dues in advance. Then I stocked the fridge, left a note in the silverware drawer that read, "For mornings that smell like salt and coffee love, Nat." When I handed my father the keys, his hands trembled. "This is too much," he said. "It's not." I told him, "You spent 50 years fixing things that broke. Let something stay fixed." My mother pressed her palm over her mouth. "It's beautiful, sweetheart, but you should have told us sooner. We would have, what talked me out of it." She smiled sadly, maybe tried. For one night, everything felt right. We ate takeout on paper plates, my father humming, my mother tracing the grain of the table like it was silk. I stayed over on an air mattress, testing the plumbing, the locks, the sound of the sea through the windows. It was the first night in years that my mother didn't triple-check the stove before bed. The next morning, she made coffee and said, "Don't tell your sister yet. Let us have this for a little while." I laughed. I wasn't planning to. She looked relieved, and I should have known what that meant. By the second day, my father posted a picture on his Facebook page view from our porch. Harmless, he thought. It took Tessa less than 6 hours to comment. "Whose porch?" That night, she called. "Mom says you bought them a beach house." I kept my voice even. I wanted them to have something quiet. "Must be nice," she said. "Some of us can barely pay rent." "You've said that before." I replied, "It's not a competition." Her tone sharpened. "It always is with you." I let the silence stretch until she hung up. 2 days later, my mother called. "Your sister's coming to visit, just for the weekend. She's bringing the kids," she said maybe. "And Gavin. They just want to see it." I closed my eyes. "Mom, this isn't a rental." "She knows," she said quickly. "It's fine. Natalie, don't make a big thing of it." I wanted to believe her. But I'd spent my whole life watching small things become disasters, and when I saw the missed call from my father the following evening, 3 in a row, I knew the piece I'd bought was already gone. My father's voice on the phone was small. "They're here." "Nat, just wanted to see the house," they said. Behind him. I heard laughter, Tessa's kids. Gavin's booming voice. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, though I wasn't even in the car yet. They'll leave Sunday, he added. Your mother says it's fine. It's never fine. I said. He exhaled. Maybe this time, Dad. Stop. I couldn't listen to another attempt at peacekeeping. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and my phone buzzing every few minutes. A new post appeared on Tessa's page, a selfie in the living room I'd decorated, captioned Home Sweet Home. Yow manifesting. The comments rolled in. So deserved. Dream house. Finally, the beach life. My stomach clenched. I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, whispering, They just wanted to stay one more night. Mom, you can't let. They said the kids love the beach. It's good for them. They're not guests. They're squatters. Don't use that word, she said sharply. Then softer. Please, Natalie, don't come down here angry. I didn't answer. I was already packing. The drive took 3 hours, long enough for my mind to build its own courtroom exhibits, testimony, judgment. I arrived close to midnight. The house lights were on, music playing. From the driveway, I could see Gavin through the window, beer in hand, pointing toward something my father was holding. I stepped inside. My mother was at the sink, pale. Tessa was barefoot, laughing. Gavin turned toward me with a smirk. Well, if it isn't the bank, I didn't rise to it. You're not supposed to be here. Tessa crossed her arms. It's a family home. That means everyone. It's held in a trust, I said. You're not named. Paperwork again. Gavin muttered. You think documents beat blood? I think they're the only thing that ever has. My mother tried to intervene. Let's all calm down. I turned to her. Mom, did you give them permission to move in? She hesitated too long. I thought it was temporary. Gavin stepped closer. We're helping your parents. They can't handle stairs. This place needs energy. Energy, I repeated. Or income. Tessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. You're reading too much into things. I took out my phone and showed her the Airbnb listing with her name. You already listed it. She blinked. It's just for the off-season. My father's voice broke through, low but clear. Tessa, that's enough. She looked at him, startled. Gavin muttered something under his breath and left the room. My father's hands were shaking. Nat, can we fix this? Yes, I said, but not the way we used to. I'm not doing this in whispers. I said, everyone to the living room. Tessa rolled her eyes but followed. Gavin swaggered in last, beer swinging, the kids' show still chattering in the background until I hit mute. My father sank into the chair like it remembered him. My mother stood behind him, fingers at his shoulder, as if she could keep this from tipping. I set my bag on the coffee table and unzipped it. We'll be quick, I said. We'll be clear. Gavin smirked. Be my guest, counselor. I laid down the first page. Deed, I said. Recorded last month. Property owned by the Monroe Family Trust. Lifetime right of occupancy to Helen Monroe and Charles Monroe. Tessa leaned forward. So it still says family. It says trust, I corrected. Not a communal toy. Gavin flicked his eyes over the seal. Paper. Cute. I placed the second document. Trust instrument. Successor trustee me. Duties include maintenance of the property and removal of any person interfering with my parents' quiet enjoyment. He laughed through his nose. Removal. Big word. My father's voice was soft. Gavin, listen. Gavin lifted a hand without looking at him. I'm listening to the attorney. I kept my voice even. Third item. I slid a color printout across the table. Airbnb listing. Photos taken from inside this house. Copy says entire home, owner off-site. Calendar shows weekends booked through late summer. Payouts to an account ending in numbers I know aren't my parents. Tessa's chin lifted. You hacked me. You posted it. I said. You wanted strangers to stay in their room. It's called income. Gavin said. Your folks could use it. They aren't for sale, I said. He stepped forward half a pace. They're aging. They need help. We're here. My mother swallowed. We didn't ask for this. Gavin. That's because you never want to burden Natalie. He shot back. She only helps if she can be in charge. My father straightened. That's enough. I pulled the fourth document and set it down. 1 page. Blown up to make the signatures large. Last night, I said, I received an email from a loan officer I know. Someone applied for a small personal loan using this property as collateral. The packet included a permission to encumber, signed by Helen Monroe. I tapped the looped cursive. This is not my mother's hand. Tessa went still. You're accusing me of a crime. I'm laying down a fact, I said. The routing number below belongs to Gavin. Gavin's jaw flexed. We explored options. That's called being proactive. My mother's breath hitched. Tessa, tell me you didn't. Tessa's eyes flashed. You always take her side. My father managed to stand. This isn't sides. This is our names. Gavin pointed at him. Sit down, Charles. You're making this worse. I moved between them before the finger got close. Don't point at my father, I said. Ever. Gavin's mouth curled. Or what I placed the 5th page a single sheet. Dense text. HOA rules. Short-term rentals forbidden. Violations fined and reported to the county. I looked at my sister. You listed the home anyway. She tried a smile that used to work on me when we were kids. We were excited. We wanted to make it useful. It's already useful, I said. It lets them sleep. My mother's voice was barely there. I didn't know about the listing. You knew they were staying, I said. She closed her eyes. I thought it would calm down on its own. It never does, I said. My throat tightened, and I fought it back. It multiplies. Gavin clapped once, slow. So what now? Judge, you going to sue your little sister? No, I said. I put my phone on the table. Screen lit. I'm going to perform my duty. On display were drafts addressed and attachment ready. Email to the HOA board with the deed, the trust, and the listing. Email to county code with the parcel flagged for illegal use. Email to the bank's fraud unit with the forged signature. Text thread to a locksmith named Victor, who was parked 2 houses down. Tessa's eyes flicked toward the door as if she could see him through it. You wouldn't bring a stranger into our business. You already did, I said, tapping the Airbnb page. Gavin grinned again. But it looked thinner. You think a lock stops family, it stops a booking, I said. And it starts a line. My father cleared his throat, the way he used to before he asked for a raise he never got. Natalie, he said, do what you have to do. My mother squeezed his shoulder, then looked at me. I wanted this to be peaceful, she whispered. I always want that. I know. I said. My voice wavered once and found itself. You always want that, and it always means I pay the price. She flinched, like a truth had landed and couldn't be put back. Tessa's stare sharpened. You love making yourself the martyr. I love not watching you turn our parents into a revenue stream, I said. Gavin stepped again. You don't talk to my wife like I held up a hand. Enough. Here are your choices. Pack your things today, delete the listing. Message each guest that the home is unavailable and issue refunds. Leave every key on the table before you go. Or what he asked. Or I send everything I showed you. I said, and I ask the HOA to proceed. And I file a police report about the signature. Tessa's lips parted. You'd ruin me. You already did the work. I said, I'm just naming it. My phone chimed. A text Victor parked. Want me in. I typed 10 minutes. Then I looked at my mother. I'm sorry it's like this. She shook her head. No, she said. I'm sorry I let it get here. My father reached for her hand. We should have told them to leave. You called me. I said, that counts. Gavin grabbed the printout with the signature and crumpled it. There. Fixed. I pulled another copy from the folder and set it down. I brought extras. He stared at the paper like it had insulted him. You think you're clever with your documents. I think I'm tired, I said, and being tired makes me direct. Tessa's tone changed. Sugar over steel. Nat, listen. We can manage bookings. We can vet guests. We can even give you a cut. My cut, I repeated, for letting strangers sleep in my mother's room. It's a house, she said, voice rising. You act like it's a person. I looked at our father's hands. It holds people I love. That's enough. Gavin pointed toward the hallway. Kids are napping. Don't start banging around. Then start packing quietly. I said. He laughed and turned to Tessa. She's bluffing. Victor rang the bell. Gavin flinched. Who the hell I opened the door? Victor, I said, front and back. Replace the deadbolt. Install the keypad. I'll text the temporary code. Victor nodded. A calm man with a tool bag and the kind of steady eyes you trust. Will do. Tessa's voice jumped an octave. Mom, tell her to stop this. Tell her she doesn't get to do this to her own family. My mother looked at her youngest child for a long second that felt like a year. Tessa, she said, pack your things. Tessa's face emptied. You're choosing her. I'm choosing my home. My mother said, your sister gave it to us. You tried to sell it. Gavin swore under his breath and stomped down the hall. Drawers slid, doors thudded. Victor worked in a quiet rhythm, metal on metal. A song of boundaries. I opened my laptop and tethered my phone. Refunds, first a short, clean note to each hopeful guest. Listing removed by the owner. Refund issued. One reply pinged back instantly with a threat of a review. I attached the HOA clause and ended it there. Tessa hovered in the doorway with a suitcase half-zipped. You don't even live here. You're never around unless there's a problem you can solve. I'm around right now, I said, and I'm choosing the right problem. She pressed her nails into her palm. You think money makes you a parent. I think money made me your excuse. I said, that ends today. Victor tested the new bolt. Try it, he said. I turned the key, felt the clean resistance, the click that felt like a full breath. He handed me the keypad manual. Temporary codes all zeros until you set it. I held the keypad and looked at my father. Pick a number you'll remember. He smiled for the first time all day, small and stubborn. Our anniversary, he said. The one with the cheap suits and the perfect cake. I entered the digits and hit confirm. Another click, another breath. Gavin appeared with a box. You'll hear from my lawyer. I nodded. Have him read the trust before he calls. He bumped my shoulder as he passed. I didn't move. Tessa dragged her suitcase to the door and paused. You could have talked to me, she said. You could have tried. I have been talking to you my whole life. I said. You always hear what gives you more. She swallowed hard and looked at our mother. You'll regret this. My mother shook her head. I regret letting it get this far. They left to the sound of their own anger. The door closed once, then again with the firm sound of the new bolt. Victor gathered his tools and nodded to my parents. Call me if you need anything. Thank you, my father said, voice steady now. I sent the emails. I printed a simple letter to the neighbors. There was confusion. There will be no short-term rentals at this address. I left the papers under a magnet on the fridge labeled Boring Armor. My mother touched the back of my hand. You're shaking, she said. I'm done. I said, that's all. My father sat back, shoulders lowering. I think I can read in this chair again. He said, then read. I told him. Victor slipped out. The house was quiet enough to hear my mother breathe. I set the last page on the table, the one with the forged signature, and slid it into a folder. This stays with me, I said. My mother nodded. So does tonight. The house felt hollow once they were gone. Every word they'd thrown still clung to the walls. My mother sat at the table, her hands wrapped around a mug that had gone cold. My father was by the window, tracing the outline of the new lock as if checking it could hold. I didn't want to tell you, my mother said. I thought it would settle itself. It never does, I said. They came in so fast, she whispered. Said it'd be easier for us. No stairs, no chores. They sounded so reasonable. My father turned from the window. I should have told them to leave the moment they walked in. You called me, I said. That was the strong part. He smiled faintly. Embarrassed. Didn't feel strong. Strength doesn't feel like much when you're using it right, I said. He nodded, eyes glistening. I worked 3 jobs once to keep a roof over us. I never thought I'd have to fight for one again. My mother blinked quickly, forcing back tears. You must think we're fools. No, I said. Just tired of keeping peace that costs too much. She covered my hand with hers. I didn't want you to be the bad guy. I'm not, I said. I'm the one who finally stopped pretending there wasn't one. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then my father cleared his throat. What happens now? Now we breathe, I said, and we make it ours again. He nodded, eyes on the horizon through the glass. My mother pushed her mug aside and stood, shoulders drawn back, a small, reclaiming gesture. Then I'll start by making coffee, she said. For us. The kettle hissed softly. I watched the steam rise. Thin and steady proof that something broken could still heat. Still hold. 2 mornings later. My mother stood in the kitchen with the phone pressed to her ear. I heard her say, No, Tessa, we can't watch the kids this weekend. Her voice trembled, then steadied. Because we're busy resting. When she hung up, she exhaled like she'd just surfaced from deep water. I didn't speak. She didn't need praise for something that had cost her years to learn. My father looked up from his chair. She didn't shout. She cried, my mother said quietly, but I didn't bend. He smiled, pride flickering like a pilot light. That's new? Feels strange? She said. Strange is good, I told her, later that day. I found my father fixing a drawer that didn't need fixing. You're restless, I said. Old habits, he replied. I'm used to working until things stop shaking. They already stopped. He paused. Not inside me. They haven't. I sat beside him. You don't have to carry their weight anymore. I'm not sure I know what to do without it, he admitted. Learn, I said. Same way I did. That night, we ate dinner together, just the 3 of us. My mother reached for more wine, then stopped. I should call her, she murmured. My father shook his head. Let her call first. She'll twist it, Mom said. Then she'll twist it alone. I didn't interrupt. I just watched them find their footing again, piece by piece, word by word. After we cleared the table, my mother turned to me. You think we can really keep this peace? I met her eyes. Peace isn't kept. It's chosen. She nodded slowly, the lesson sinking in. My father raised his glass toward us, voice low. Then, here's to choosing better this time. We clinked glasses, not to celebrate victory, but to mark the start of something quieter, something that finally belonged to us. A week later, I got a message from Paige, Tessa's daughter. Grandma looks happy there. The house is pretty, I typed back. Come visit with her permission. No bookings, just pancakes. She sent a laughing emoji. Then, okay. For the first time in months, I smiled at a text that carried our last name. That evening, I drove to the coast. The lights were on before I reached the porch, through the window. My father sat reading, glasses slipping down his nose. My mother worked on a puzzle, humming softly. I knocked once before stepping in. You should have called, my mother said, pretending to scold. I wanted to see if the locks worked. I said, They do, my father replied, and so do we. We sat in silence for a moment, the kind that isn't heavy anymore. My mother looked up from her puzzle. Your sister called yesterday, she said. I told her we're fine. She didn't like that answer. That's still an answer. I said, She'll come around, my father added, but not with her hands out. I nodded. Then the door stays closed until it's a visit. Not a claim. He smiled, proud and tired. That's fair. When I left, the sea wind followed me to the car. I looked back once. The house stood still, Light's soft and steady proof that love, when guarded, could finally stay.